VGMP.
Are you feeling edgy? Are you feeling like it's the mid-90s? Are you feeling like you want to pretend you're part of a subculture when in actual fact you're just the Hollywood elite? Do you want to be in a movie that knows nothing about computers but pretends that it does? Well then, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the one for you. Welcome to VGMP Retro, the show where we re-release classic episodes of the Video Game Movie Podcast with a slight coat of paint to make them a bit more palatable for you. Today, we're reviewing one of our culture movies, so this isn't a direct adaptation. This is a film tangentially related to video games, real tangentially in this case, actually. In fact, it basically has nothing at all to do with video games. It essentially has as much to do with video games as Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare does, but whatever. Starring Angelina Jolie, Johnny Lee Miller, and Shaggy himself, Matthew Lillard, this is 1995's Hackers.
Hack the planet, Zero Cool! I'm trying to bring in that 90s cool, but I was never cool even in the 90s.
The Plague.
I'm trying my best.
Call back to Super Mario Brothers. That guy's
Zero
in this.
Cool back. Sorry, I got into it. I liked it. It's a good film.
Do you know what? Just skip this episode. Don't listen to it.
No, don't do that.
It's a crap
it's great.
one anyway.
No, it's not. It's Hackers.
It's really bad.
Come on. This is where we got the line, look at that pooper man.
Yeah, only you think that's funny.
That's a great line.
Only you find it funny.
You like the line about spandex.
This is the movie that randomly decides to cast everyone in their late 20s, early 30s, and then one character is actually 16, and it's... We thought Josh Gad and Adam Sandler pretending to be the same age was bad. This, my God.
My God. Yeah, I kind of like this movie. Jamie clearly is not a big fan.
It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, to be fair, as you'll hear in the episode.
It's not offensive or anything like that.
It's nothing to do with video games, though. There's one scene where video games are played.
I remembered it having more video gamey stuff in it, but yeah, it turned out that it was basically just... And it has footage from a beta version of Wipeout, because Wipeout wasn't out yet. And also, I don't believe there was ever a Wipeout arcade, but they're playing it as an arcade machine. So, kind of interesting trivia in that sense, but either way, we hope you enjoy it. If you want to discuss it with us, whatever your views were on Hackers, have you seen it? Have you not? Do you agree with our views, or do you have anything alternative that you want to, discuss with us? Please do let us know. You can contact us via our Discord channel. The link to our Discord channel is available on our website at www.vgmovie.co.uk. So you can click on that link and get chatting to us. In the meantime, we will catch you next time. Hello again, welcome to another phantasmagorical episode of Video Game Movie Podcast with myself, Rory Jocelyn of Cyberpunk Studios, and with me is Jamie Evans from Impala Films. Say hello, Jamie.
Wickety, what?
It's racist.
How's that racist?
I don't know.
You know what's interesting, Rory?
What?
Is how hacking in no way became a permanent subculture of this planet.
Kind of did.
Did it?
Well,
Did it? The way it's represented in this movie?
No, not in the way this... No.
No. These people were dressed more like they were in a fashion parade.
We haven't actually introduced the film yet.
No. Well, people... Well, no.
It's Hackers.
No. People will click the title.
Yes. Well, let me just let me say it's Hackers from 1995. That's why we're talking about hacking, and go.
Back in the day of 1995. So this is a bit of a different episode, because this is not actually based on a video game. Not really about video games either. Not actually sure why this one's been included. Please tell us. I like zombie strippers. Can we review zombie strippers?
No, there's no video games in it.
Okay, can we review
Nightmare on Elm Street
Saw?
4? Yes, because it has video games in it.
4 doesn't, but 6 does.
6? Well, I don't remember any of those ones.
6 pulls a guy into a video game.
There you go, but that would technically count, would it not?
Let's put that on then. Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare.
Excellent. So let me explain, because yes, Hackers is not based on a particular film, nor is it specifically video game oriented. Whereas... So, I put this in our culture section, something that's not specifically a video game franchise, but is tangentially, usually quite strongly connected to video games. So something like Wreck-It Ralph. would fit in this category, but that obviously has a lot more strong video game references within it than Hackers
including
does.
cameos from Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes. That being said, Hackers kind of, to me, it feels like it fits in this subculture area, because hacking is, you can't do that without it being a computer, so that kind of connects it tangentially. However, the other main thing is that there's a lot of elements of this film that are similar to other video game movies of this time period. The lighting, certain design of it is very similar to Mortal Kombat that we reviewed 2 weeks ago. In terms of the lighting, like strong, colourful lighting in certain scenes. It's not quite, I'm not saying it's the same as Mortal Kombat, but there's a lot of similarity. There is some exact similarities to Mortal Kombat in the soundtrack, being an EDM, electronic dance music soundtrack, and they both use Orbital in their soundtracks, and unlike the Mortal Kombat one, I've actually got the name of the song now. I remembered it. It was Halcyon and On, which is one of Orbital's biggest bangers.
Bangers.
It's a banger, mate. Look, it's from the 90s. I've got to go old school. It's wicked. Jungle is massive. Boyaka, boyaka.
Christ, what is happening?
Incredible.
I could be sat watching. So on my to-watch list, on this rare weekend I have off work, I could be watching The Power of the Dog, I could be watching Don't Look Up, a bunch of other highly critically acclaimed movies.
More modern as well.
And here I am watching things like Mortal Kombat and Hackers.
Which, here's the thing, I like Mortal Kombat, I know you didn't, fine, but Hackers is of a similar ilk. To be fair, we're going to do a bit of a spoiler on how the behind the scenes of this works. We actually filmed this on the same day, like the recording of this is the same day as Mortal Kombat. So I didn't know in advance that you didn't like electronic dance music, and I didn't know in advance that, this sort of mid-90s movie making wasn't exactly your forte.
It's important that the audience know, as a sidebar, that we record multiple episodes in one go. Yes. Because I realised that if anyone listened to the last two that were recorded on my birthday, when we were celebrating my birthday, do you remember? Yes. If they didn't know we did all those in one day, it just sounds like I'm drunk every time we record this podcast.
You
which
were?
I'm not. No.
No, for those several weeks, you were drunk every day.
No, we recorded on one day.
We did one day. That is true.
If
you actually listen to those I think we did 4 that day, didn't we? If you listen to all 4, we filmed them in sequence, so you can listen to those 4, and we get slowly more drunk as we go through the episodes. Because I was on rum, and you were on
Jack and
bourbon.
Coke.
Wasn't it bourbon?
Jack is a bourbon.
Of course it is. I was thinking of it as a whiskey, but it's not.
Well, bourbon's a type of whiskey.
No,
you've got bourbon and scotch.
Oh.
Anyway, so this film is an interesting one. This is, in a way, this is the first movie we've covered that feels like an actual movie that
with a start, middle, and end
that is for human consumption, and not just weird video game troll consumption.
Yes.
I got some Matrix vibes from it, in terms of it's got that.
You could classify it as like a proto-Matrix in certain ways, couldn't you? Yeah.
It was a weird clash between it still had a lot of 80s style in it, even though it was 1995. It had a lot of that big, bold colours, but then it also had a lot of what would come in with the Matrix, with like trench coats and things like that.
Yeah, slightly. And also some Japanese influence. So right at the end, this isn't a spoiler, but there's a point where Angelina Jolie wears a particular dress. It was a custom-made dress for the film, and it's designed like almost like a geisha gown, but it cuts off really quite high on the legs. And certainly when she goes underwater, you see her underwear.
But I've already seen everything.
Of course, I've seen everything. Are you Patrick Stewart? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. She tries to cover up, but I've already seen everything.
Then all of her clothes fall off. That stuff had a kind of a Japanese influence. There's not a lot of Japanese influence in this, though there are 2 Japanese hackers in there who are not fully prominent, but they are at least front and centre of a few scenes. So there is quite a bit of Japanese influence sliding in, which would become more common in the 2000s with the rise of anime and manga and people just enjoying Japanese culture in general. It's really awkward to think that early 90s, 80s and early 90s certainly, even actually probably to the late 90s, games made in Japan often had completely different box art because they had anime style box art. And then when they brought it to the West, it's like, anime won't sell, no one cares. Can you imagine saying that now? Anime won't sell, no one likes anime, nobody cares.
And then a little thing called Pokemon turned up, and Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, and I think those two were sort of the catalysts.
And Sailor Moon.
Yes, I don't think Sailor Moon was so much in the UK.
I don't know if it was as
in America.
Big. I know it was in because I used to watch it. On a Fox Kids. Remember Fox Kids, the TV channel?
No, I never had it.
It was basically Cartoon Network, but their rivals. And every morning they had I think it was, if I remember right, I'm thinking of the late 90s here.
Sure.
In the morning just before school was a double bill of Sailor Moon, which I always used to watch.
Was that before they made Adult Swim? Oh no, that was Cartoon Network anyway, wasn't it? Sorry.
And then in the afternoon at 5 p.m. after school, there'd be a double bill of Dragon Ball Z, which I also used to watch.
I never liked Dragon Ball Z.
I liked it for a while as a kid, and then got very bored of it.
Yeah.
And I actually tried watching the original Dragon Ball a couple years ago. I think I made it roughly a quarter of the way through.
Right.
Before I was like, and I'm bored. This is the same thing.
So technically, Dragon Ball Z should make one episode, and that's what you've seen Dragon Ball Z in its entirety. If you watch one episode,
I think someone told me. I think it was my friend Luke. That somewhere, they're not official releases, it's something fans have done.
Right.
But apparently somewhere you can get a version of Dragon Ball Z that's got all the needless filler cut out. So, you've got an entire episode of someone charging an attack.
Right.
That's gone.
Cool.
So it's just, they charge the attack and they fire.
Nice. Yeah.
Because that's the biggest problem with that show.
That's why I could never get into it. Even when people are like, you should get into Dragon Ball Z, I'm like, I can't be arsed.
Yeah.
They're like 56 to 60 episode seasons. There's about 10 of those, and most of it's bollocks.
Yeah, and someone did, unfortunately, I don't remember the reason, but someone explained to me once why there's so much filler in Dragon Ball Z. Because apparently it's not just Dragon Ball Z that has that problem.
It's quite common in anime, because they expect so many episodes.
Yeah, it's something to do with the season has to last so long.
Yeah, Sonic X had I learnt this from Sonic X specifically. I was like, oh, how many episodes are there a season? There's like 60. Yeah. It's quite common for animes, and they don't get much more budget, if any more budget, than Western shows.
No.
And most Western shows are like 20, like even at a stretch, you're looking at 23. None of them really go over 30 episodes a season. And yet, for Japanese animes, each year, write me 60 episodes.
Yeah. Well, this is
no
why...
wonder you're going to get crap filler in there. You have to fill in the space somewhere.
This is why I can't believe I'm plugging this show a second time on this. People are going to think I'm the biggest weeb.
You are a weeb.
And that I'm a virgin or something. But
we know you're not that.
It's what I think High School DxD does well.
Yeah.
Is High School DxD is only 12 episodes a season.
Yeah.
And there is no filler. They literally, so I'm actually reading the light novels as well.
Yeah.
And they adapt very faithfully the light novels. Although I'm only on volume 4 of the light novels. Season 3 of DxD. Because tell me this ain't a writer's dream. Season 3 of High School DxD basically decided to throw away the novels, the source material, and just do its own thing. So they did that, which I actually didn't think was too bad. Like, it resonated emotionally with me watching the show, but it obviously pissed the creator off.
Yeah.
So then they didn't do any more seasons for a couple of years.
Right.
Because the creator, imagine having this power in America, because in America or the UK, once you sell the rights to your thing, that's
gone.
it.
Yeah.
The author of the books literally turned around and went, nope, give me them rights back. That ain't happening. Got them back, went to a different animation studio and went, hey, I want you guys to do season 4. 12 episodes, just like last time, but I need you to do a 13th episode, episode 0, which retcons the entire 3rd season of that the other ones. And they did it.
The benefit with anime as well is because everything looks the same, it doesn't matter which Japanese studio you go to, you get the same quality.
No, this is the thing.
I'm joking. No, I'm just upsetting with
No, seriously though. This is, season 4, because it's a different studio, it's a different art style. Now, the art style is closer to the illustrations in the book, but my God, I looked on Reddit.
Are there different anime art styles?
Slightly, yeah. It's more to do with...
I thought there was a very generic template.
I mean, there's a generic template.
Yeah.
But there's flourishes you put on it. So, for example, the original High School DxD art house. Everything was very exaggerated, so the hair was always really big and wavy.
Okay.
It's more sensible in the new ones. The colours are different, and the one thing I don't like about the new one is they're doing something which makes the eyes look more realistic.
Oh, that's not
but
good
it's
with anime.
creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It's really creepy. It's like, no, just go back to original anime eyes, please.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to Hackers. I'll read the blurb. Again, you can look, it's a UK box, it's not in Spanish or anything like that. El Cuestadore.
I was about to jump in and be like, La Vidieta.
We're both terrible. Testículos.
El Campeón del Video Juego.
I actually have Spanish friends. If I actually sent them that, they'd be laughing because I just said the testicles. They can... sorry, I need the American voice. They can break any code to get inside any system. They are often still in their teens and already under surveillance by authorities. They are the hackers. Zero Cool, real name Dade Murphy, is a legend among his peers.
Dade?
Yeah, it was his name the whole way
I thought
through.
they were saying Dave.
No, it's Dade.
Dade isn't a name. Is it?
What do you think they named the Deodore rail of? Anyway. In 1998... No. In 1988, he single-handedly crashed 1,507 computers.
They were so specific about that number all the way through it.
Constantly, it's 1,507. Actually,
it's just like 1,500. Just say 1,500 or 1,500.
Yeah,
just say 1,500.
Yeah, but they were like 1,507. It's like, oh, the extra 7 really kicks it over the top. And was forbidden by law to touch another keyboard until his 18th birthday. It's been 7 years without a bite, with a Y. And he's hungry. Kate Libby, handle acid burns, has a souped-up laptop that can do 0 to 60 on the Infobahn in a nanosecond. Infobahn? Like the Autobahn in Germany.
Yeah, I got it.
Information superhighway.
Yeah, I got it.
You remiss that term, and throughout the whole 90s it was information superhighway. Do you not remember that term?
I didn't get a computer until like 1998, so...
I didn't get a computer until the 2000s. But
yeah,
I remember all the TV shows, they always used to like enforce, it's the information superhighway. And that's why they're going with that, the Infobahn in a nanosecond. When the two collide, the battle of the sexes goes into hard drive. But all bets are off when Master Hacker, the Plague, frames Dade, Kate and their friends in a diabolical industrial conspiracy. Now they are the only ones who can prevent a catastrophe, unlike any the world has ever seen. So what do you think about that?
Makes it sound a lot more dramatic than it actually is.
Don't know what that was. So this film supposes that, and I mean, it's as a timepiece, it's really cool, but
it's
obviously
interesting.
It's inaccurate from what we know about hackers now. But certainly at the time, there was this belief that hackers would be essentially like the next stage of the hippie movement almost, or the punk movement.
They'd be a force for good. And...
yeah, so it'd be like this huge... It wouldn't just be like trolls online telling everyone that they look fat and ugly.
And they'd be super cool.
Yeah, so there'd be cool people that roller skate everywhere. They'd have their own secret codes, like verbal codes and things like that. They would all live in like slums and stuff and go around each other's houses like, like crack dens almost, but the crack dens specifically deal in information. And
I don't know about you, but I didn't see a single Guy Fawkes mask in this whole film.
No, well, it's not V for Vendetta, that's why. And
no,
also, Guy Fawkes is British.
Anonymous wear that, don't
yes,
they?
Yes, they do. That's true. But I think that's based on V for Vendetta.
Yes, it is.
So that wouldn't have come.
I have a very meagre knowledge of hacking, so.
Sure. Well,
plus, we better be careful what we say because we don't want to piss off actual hackers.
We won't piss them off. I love this film and I love hackers, but let's be honest. That historically, they have not become the next stage of this grand movement where the youth will really screw up the older generations with their youthful rebellion.
He said it, not me. Please don't dox me.
There are points. You mentioned Anonymous as one of them, and I would actually probably something like WikiLeaks would be the other example where hackers have actually done positive manoeuvres against like sort of older established companies and things like that.
But then you have assholes who do things like DDoSing or those people who took Capcom hostage last year.
Yeah. So I mean, there's assholes in everything. If you met someone and they're like, I'm a hacker, you'd be like, yeah, all right, mate. Enjoy Facebook. You wouldn't take it seriously. Oh my god, this is a rebel from this cool underground movement.
Somehow I can't imagine that any actual hacker refers to themselves as a hacker. Something about that seems really lame.
I don't think, but I think at the idea of this period of time, you probably would use it as an element of pride.
Oh yeah,
as a statement. But yeah, because there is no cool factor to calling yourself a hacker in sort of a real life social sphere, I think that's why people don't end up using it. It became a kind of a nudge of, oh, these are fat sweaty nerds that went to computer college, rather than being like, again, the cool hipsters. So let's start. We open up at Seattle 1988. The cops raid a quiet townhouse, and then it cuts to Felicity Huffman in court. And she is the
prosecutor.
Prosecutor, that's the word I was looking for. Prosecuting a child, the child version of Dade. The court orders him not to use a computer until his 18th birthday, as it said.
Or a touch-tone telephone.
Or a touch-tone telephone. We then get a montage of an adult Dade flying to New York on his birthday. We'll come to that in a sec. But at this point, this is where Orbital actually plays about 2 or 3 times in the film, but Orbital's Halcyon and On first plays here, which connects it back to Mortal Kombat, which came out the same year. Orbital must have made a mint in soundtrack money.
It has to be said, Mortal Kombat felt so much older than this film.
Really?
Like, Mortal Kombat had like a late 80s, early 90s vibe.
Right. Interesting.
I think maybe just because it was so cheesy.
I feel they're quite similar. So it's really interesting. You got like, it's not that you're wrong. It's just interesting that the vibes are different.
Yeah.
What is it that can you put your finger on why?
I think it's a mix of things. Like, it's a kung fu film, which I mostly associate with the 80s.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
It's still got puppet animatronics in it.
Yep.
Which I still associate with the 80s.
And the world's worst CGI.
World's worst CGI, and just a campiness to it. So Hackers has got. They're both embarrassing in a way, but Hackers is embarrassing in the way that you can tell how cool they think they are.
Yeah, you can tell what the idea was.
I'm sure they were in 1995. I mean, fucking hell, 1995, I was still singing Spice Girls and shit.
I was 9.
I was...
You were 4.
I would have been 4, yeah. But Mortal Kombat... It just has that 80s cheese level to it.
Yeah, I can see your point there. That's cool. I mean, because I always usually associate films based on their cinematography and their colour space. And in that regard, these two match up very similarly because I think they were filmed on the same sort of cameras. And obviously they were filmed the same year. And the way that they filmed, that they colour the shots were very similar. That being so, neither of them come across as an 80s movie in terms of cinematography.
In terms of colour, the genre I always associate with every film in this genre looks that colour.
Yeah.
Is we talked about it in Stay Alive, early to mid noughties horror movies.
Yes.
Are all tinted green.
Where they took the idea of the Matrix, but didn't apply it with any relevance. Just slapped a blue-green tint over it, and we're done. Yeah. So. Adult Dade flies to New York City. We find out it's his birthday, so he immediately starts hacking the local TV station because legally he can go back online. Obviously, he can't legally hack. He's just decided that's first up on his to-do list. During his hack, he calls himself Eddie Vedder, who is the singer of Pearl Jam. Just a little side bit of trivia there for you. He gets stopped by another hacker who says, "What are you doing in my area? This is my hacking zone." That person calls themselves Acid Burn, but we don't find out who Acid Burn is yet. It's the most obvious reveal, but it is revealed a lot later in the film.
Yeah, I wonder who it could be.
Could it be the
female love interest,
who for some reason seems to shit on him all the time and get away with it, and is being
because it's the 90s, man.
I think also probably maybe one of the giveaways for it that wouldn't have been a giveaway at the time is the fact that woman is played by Angelina Jolie, who is now a world-renowned, super famous actress, but actually at this time I don't think she was that famous.
No.
This was before all the Lara Crofts, before all of the Salt, before all of the other stuff, the Brangelina stuff with Brad Pitt, years before any of that, nearly a decade before. So I think she was a relative unknown, not a complete unknown, but a relative unknown. So maybe at the time it would have played better as a reveal, but she's advertised by name on the box and posters, so probably not. Because you're like, well, if she's named in it, she must be doing something. His mum reveals that they moved to New York in his senior year because she had to take a new job. Dade skates to his new school and sees Angelina Jolie. He immediately gets the hots for her, but she tricks him into going onto the roof to say, oh, where you need to go is on the roof next to the swimming pool. So he goes up into the roof. As he walks out, there's a bunch of other nerdy-looking kids going, wait, don't let the door close. The door slams behind him, and it turns out the door can only be opened from the inside, so they're locked out there. It then pours with rain, and they all get wet. Ha 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 ha! Joviality. It's a pun.
No.
Is my line going to go into worst line rather than anything from the film?
We had enough puns on Captain N.
Captain N was amazing for puns. So, as a revenge, Dade hacks into the school's computer system, and he puts himself in her class so he can try and get revenge. He then bumps into her at the local arcade and beats her at Wipeout. Now, there's a there's a Wipeout arcade cabinet that they're playing on in this film. I don't believe Wipeout ever made it to the arcade, but actually, by the time this film came out, Wipeout wasn't released yet. Wipeout was still in development, so the version they have in the film is a beta prototype, and basically that you'd be playing on a PlayStation 1 rather than playing on an arcade machine. I could be wrong on there not being a Wipeout arcade cabinet. I didn't actually research that, because I only just wrote it down rewatching the film, but I'm pretty certain there wasn't. There never was one. I've never heard of it anyway. And it was Wipeout was super popular, so if there was one, I'd assume we would have had it on South End Seafront. Because you can testify to this. On our seafront, there's 1,000,001 arcades, and I've lived here my whole life, and I've never seen that arcade machine. So Angelina Jolie bumps into her boyfriend, who is played as just sort of a good-looking meathead character, and she rides off on the back of his motorbike.
Not wearing a helmet, girl.
Yeah, well, actually, in some states in America, it's not illegal to not wear a helmet, though.
Still stupid.
It is still stupid, yeah. I mean, have you seen a film called Wild Hogs?
With John Travolta and Tim Allen in it,
It's a really good film, and it is a really good film.
That's a controversial opinion.
It's hilarious.
That is a controversial opinion you've just released on the internet.
It's a comedy film, and it's hilarious, thus it's a good film.
I'm not going to comment whether I like it or not. But you know it's got a real bad reputation online.
Yeah, and I don't care, because they're wrong. If a film is a comedy and it's genuinely hilarious, it's a good film.
Is it genuinely hilarious?
Yes, it is.
I think I need to rewatch it.
You need to rewatch it.
I remember liking it the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
But then I heard them talk about it on the podcast We Hate Movies.
Right. I mean, that sounds like a podcast with a particular bent.
No, it's very it's a comedy podcast.
No, I get it.
Where they rip into shit films.
Right.
And they kind of do what we do, where we go through it. And put it this way, from what I remember, I don't think Wild Hogs is a film that has aged well. They found a lot of sexism in it and a lot of
I don't recall. Bear in mind, this is a film I watch almost religiously. I watch it. Right. I've got the Blu-ray and I watch it constantly. The soundtrack is phenomenal and the audio mix is great.
You've got a motorbike, haven't you?
Yeah, I love.
Are you a wild hog?
In the same way they are, probably. Yeah, not in terms of being like a.
I always remember.
I'm certainly not a Hell's Angel or anything like that.
I always remember Ray Liotta's in that film. I just always remember him screaming at the top of his lungs, "Wild hogs!
Wild hogs!" My point with that is, there's a point where two of them are wearing helmets and two of them aren't. And one of them goes, "Maybe I don't want to wear it." I think it's John Travolta's character goes, "I don't want to wear any helmet. What if I don't want to wear a helmet? What if I don't want anything between me and the road?" And then Martin Lawrence goes, "You will if your head falls on it." Which is absolutely true. Always wear your damn helmet. That's why I couldn't be a rebel, because I'm like, no, fucking crash helmet. I've broken both my legs on a motorbike, so I know that they are dangerous. And trust me, you want as much stuff to protect your ass as possible. Because when you come off and damage yourself in a horrendous bike accident, it's not fun. We're going to have a private conversation about Wild Hogs, because obviously it's not something we're going to bring up on the show outside of like the few odd references we've got here. Matthew Lillard joins in. He enters our film, basically acting similarly to how he acts in Scream. But he is more off his tits, drugged, I think, in this film. Or drunk. Probably more drugs, to be honest. I'm not saying he was on drugs.
No.
But he very much acts like he was on drugs.
I just want to bring up a couple of thoughts on the performances here.
Mm-hmm.
So, first of all, with the casting, as we pointed out while we were watching it, these characters are meant to be, what, 17, 18?
16, 17.
16, 17.
Most of them are over 20. All of them bar one.
All except one's over 20, and one actually is 16, isn't he?
Yes.
if you're going
That
to do...
kid Joey is the name of the character.
If you're going to do the thing where you're casting people in their 20s to play teenagers...
Don't cast a 16-year-old.
They all have to be in their 20s.
Yeah.
I can suspend...
You can tell, can't you?
Yeah, I can suspend my disbelief when they're all in their 20s, but when you've got one who actually is 16... Now, to be fair, praise to that 16-year-old kid, because actually he seems really confident in that scene they've all got together where they're all in the in the hacker cafe, and he's
doing the
stealing the chips and stuff, and he's smoking. That was shocking. He's like 16 and he's puffing away. And I also want to say
they were probably fake cigarettes, but I don't know that.
No, I know, but still.
But yeah,
but the kid totally holds his own.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's fake. Like he doesn't look like a guy who's never smoked before. Let's put it that way.
And I also think Johnny Lee Miller does very well in this film.
Yes.
I'm assuming he's deliberately trying to play someone who's really socially awkward.
I think he is, because he wasn't allowed to have any real communication with the outside world, was he, for about 10 years?
Yeah, because he definitely comes across as a guy who something isn't right with him.
Yeah.
Now this
he's a bit detached.
Now this is in direct opposition. Shall I bring out a negative performance at this point? Angelina Jolie's garbage in this movie.
Ooh,
now, to be
garbage
fair,
is quite strong.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I'm not necessarily sure that's her performance that's bad.
Right.
The character is written badly, in my opinion.
Okay.
So, as you may know, I'm someone who very much enjoys romantic movies and love stories. And this film, as well as being a hacker drama...
Old Boy. You like romantic films like Old Boy?
I've never actually seen Old Boy.
Oh, Christ. If you had, you'd realise why that's not an appropriate comment to make.
Yeah, I really like romantic films and stuff like that. And I have to say, and maybe it's just because I'm not a hacker or whatever, but the weakest part of this film is their relationship for me, because it wasn't believable. I don't know why this...
I can believe it as a lust relationship, but not as a romance.
Yeah, I mean, she's a complete bitch to him for most of the film. Why is he into her?
Yeah, I don't... Well, it's that whole thing, isn't it? It's quite an old-fashioned idea, but it's just basically she really wants it, but she's going to pretend she doesn't. So, I mean, there's still some films that do that now, but it was very much more popular. The further you go back in cinema, the more overt and the more common that trope is. By the time the 90s came along, they still did the trope, but they gave the woman the agency to, rather than just be kind of almost a victim of the guy going, no, you will love me. They gave them the agency to at least make the decision for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
So the women ended up overpowering the men eventually for the love, rather than the other way round. But it was still very much always women going, nope, don't really want it, you're scum. Yeah. And then eventually somehow turning around full 180 for an inexplicable reason.
Yeah, it just didn't feel... I don't know, it just didn't feel legit.
So we see the hacking world for the first time. I can't tell if it's CGI or an actual set they built.
So I did some reading. Apparently not CGI.
Lovely.
Apparently there is no CGI in this movie.
Well, there has to be in when they play Wipeout.
There has to be.
When they play Wipeout.
The director claims there is no CGI in this movie.
Sure. Well, I can imagine that, because they did build a set of these things in the behind from Penn and Teller. So it's possible that it was a miniature that they filmed for the hacking sequences. Yeah. But it has a very Tron-like feel with like a purpley blue computer chip base, and then these bright green glass pillars that resemble skyscrapers.
I'm going to say it's designed to look like a bird's eye view of a New York City street.
Yes.
Which I thought was quite... Because you've got all the electrons flying down the wires look like cars.
Yeah.
That was quite interesting.
So it was a really cool visual. I mean, obviously it's not realistic to anyone who knows hacking. You don't get any cool eye-popping visuals like that. But it doesn't matter. For the sake of a film, it actually looks really cool. So Penn from Penn and Teller is in this, as I say. He works in that... for this particular company. I've never remembered to take down the name. I forgot
the name already,
because it's unimportant.
It's a mineral mining company, I just remember that much.
Yeah, so he works in this sort of hacking centre for it, but he's not sort of the main defence guy. He's just a guy who kind of watches the computer and calls in the main villain.
He's a lackey.
He's a lackey. He's got a bit of edge to him. So he calls up
the actor,
Fisher Stevens. Yes, so he plays a character in this who's called Eugene, but he hates anyone calling him that. He wants to be called The Plague. because he's an older hacker who now works for a corporation, but he's the villain of the piece. He's actually created a virus to manipulate this company into paying him 25 million. Even though he works for the company already, he could probably earn that much in his job, but whatever. Maybe not 25 million, maybe that's the point. But yeah, so he insists to be called the Plague. So when Penn calls him up, goes, "Oh, Mr. Eugene, there's something wrong with the system." He goes, "Call me the Plague." And he goes, "Okay, Mr. the Plague."
Yeah.
He just doesn't care.
I wonder, I actually, because I'm a big fan of Penn and Teller, and I watched all of their series bullshit.
Oh, okay.
That is such a Penn joke, like that's his sense of humour. I wonder if he improv'd that.
Probably did. Yeah, he probably just went, "Call me the Plague," and then he was meant to continue the line or just respond with, "Okay, well, this is what's happening." But I can believe that Penn would have ad-libbed the line somewhat. I've seen him with other stuff. He does it quite a lot. He's really he's a funny guy.
Yeah,
he doesn't need help being funny.
Have you ever seen the show Bullshit?
Not that one, no. I've seen other shows with Penn and Teller, though.
Bullshit's worth watching. It's 8 seasons, I think.
Wow.
It's a documentary series. Every episode's on a completely different topic.
Wow.
And they just expose bullshit, man. And it's brilliant.
That's cool. So Joey, the one who's the only genuine 16-year-old actor in this, from the troupe, but Joey, one of the young hackers at the new school, he hacks into this company just because he's trying to show off to the others and prove that he's got the metal.
Earlier on, they said to him he had to perform a risky hack for them to accept him as one of them.
And to give him a username. But it's like, you pick a username for yourself. So he could have just bowled in, I'm Dude Cool, and they'd have to go, they'd probably tell him to piss off with this.
Cool.
I'm just coming up with bullshit. I'm not giving my username. I'm not giving my hacker. I'm not meaning my username.
I know your username, and it sounds like you have a fungal infection.
In my lower regions.
No, in your upper region.
See you after the break.
Let's carry on. Dade is taken to another hacker's flat, and they watch 2 Japanese hackers who are lavishly made up with different, I don't know, almost look like they were ready for RuPaul, and they're doing a live takeover of a TV broadcast.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
What were their names?
I didn't write those down.
Oh, they actually had cool names.
Did they? That's a shame. We'll never know. It'll be on IMDb. So Joey's at home. He's only downloaded part of the data before he gets booted out. No, his mum comes in and turns off his PC, doesn't she? Because he's supposed to be in bed. He then takes out the floppy disk and he hides it in an air duct in his bedroom.
Floppy disks.
Floppy disk. God. This is how hardcore these hackers are. They're still on the floppies.
I miss floppy disks.
Bet you do. For a hard drive. The Plague then tells the company that a virus was left on the system which could flip over one of their ships at sea. So it's doing something where it's turning off the ballasts on one side, so the ship is going to do a rotation. Whatever it's carrying is going to be dumped into the sea, which apparently will cause a lot of pollution. Whatever it's carrying is no good. We then find out after the meeting that the Plague, while he's obviously in charge of this Da Vinci virus, he's the guy who actually put it in. He's using the hack as an excuse to try and rip the company off for loads of money. One of the women at the meeting, he's actually in league with him.
Yes.
And he created the virus, and the garbage file actually reveals the entire plan. So, on the garbage file, I'll be honest, I'm not heavily into IT. I've not heard of a garbage file being a thing necessarily. But when you create a virus...
Yeah...
do you need to create a file that exposes the entire plan of what the virus is for and how you're going to use the virus to earn yourself money?
I do not know.
And then you just call it garbage. No one will want to look at this, it's just trash. It's like, maybe don't write it down in the virus software. Just a thought.
I must admit, I find it quite funny because they call the computer virus Da Vinci, and we edit on Da Vinci software. So whenever they kept saying about Da Vinci, in my head I was going,
Do you think that's what's going to happen?
Well, it'll turn out Da Vinci Resolve is...
Yeah, Da Vinci Resolve is actually...
a virus.
By the Plague. It turns out Fisher Stevens runs black magic.
This is why we keep planning films and then they actually get made before we can make them.
Yeah.
And we're like, God damn you!
The Plague plays a VR game. I had to mention this because it looks like a 90s Oculus Rift.
Is this when the detective walks in on him?
Yeah. They realise Dade has moved to New York City. They found out that Dade, the man who did the hack way back when, has moved to New York City, so he's obviously...
With the oddly specific number of computers that he hacked.
Yes, what was it?
1,107 or something.
No, 1,507.
Oh, sorry. I dropped you by 400. Sorry,
Yes, on Wall
sorry,
Street.
Johnny Lee Miller.
Yeah, well, you don't want to take away his accomplishments.
Sorry, Sherlock Holmes. He does play Sherlock Holmes.
What, Johnny Lee Miller?
Johnny Lee Miller is Sherlock Holmes in the TV series Elementary.
No.
Starring Lucy Liu as Watson. The TV show
Are you on
Elementary.
acid? What's going on?
To Google!
Sorry, an American Sherlock
There's
Holmes with Johnny
Amer-
Lee Miller and Lucy Liu.
There is an American Sherlock Holmes.
This sounds more random than Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century.
What's Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd
It's
century?
a cartoon animated series where Sherlock Holmes is frozen in
And
his
wakes
time period,
up.
wakes up in the 22nd century. Watson's there. Well, Watson's head is there on a massive cyborg muscular body.
Right.
And they have to solve crime. I'm like, I'm sorry, as good as Sherlock Holmes is, like, let's say he was a real person. I know he wasn't, he was fictional. But if even he was the greatest detective of his time, shoot him forward 300 years, I'm pretty certain most of his ideas would be kind of rubbished. Because he wouldn't even know about things like genetics. He wouldn't know things about forensics. These are all things that came out after the books of Sherlock Holmes.
Airing for 7 seasons between 2012 and 2019, Elementary stars Johnny Lee Miller as Sherlock Holmes, a recovering drug addict, and Lucy Liu as Dr. Joan Watson.
I hate it. I hate it already.
I mean, it ran for 7 seasons. It can't be that bad.
Well...
But
Doctor Who's run for many seasons, and it's...
Doctor Who's incredible. Not at the minute, thanks to Chris Chibnall.
Well, we're not going to go there, Chimballs.
Although Eve of the Daleks was better than some of the ones have been. But no, I was about to say, to be fair, Big Bang Theory ran for like 12 seasons. And
Big Bang Theory's brilliant.
No. The first...
I'll be honest, I'm lying. I mean,
Right.
I kind of... I'll be
I
honest,
enjoyed the first like 5 seasons or so.
I
was
can jump
okay
in
with.
anywhere on Big Bang Theory and enjoy myself, but I would never put it as like high art, brilliant TV.
God, no.
Not even in its best. At its best, it's not there.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Hackers, which is, to be honest, I find more interesting than Big Bang Theory. Didn't run for anyone near as long.
I do want to see that Elementary show though.
Do you?
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I like Lucy Liu. She's a good actress.
What happens if it turns out his name is Dade?
It's not Sherlock
Shut
Holmes.
up. The cops break into Joey's house and smash up his entire bedroom to try and find the disc. They don't find it.
This is the scene in which, with all due respect, because I've seen him in quite a few things and I like him in a lot of things, like in Californication and Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But Fisher Stevens, let's be honest, is not an intimidatingly built man. Where he's trying to intimidate.
He's trying to
Dade
intimidate him by
with the
smashing up his
baseball
stereo and stuff. Yeah.
But although he's not very intimidating, this performance was very entertaining. So
Yeah, it was. I'd
praise
say
to Fisher Stevens.
I would say Fisher Stevens' performance in this, it wasn't terrifying. You weren't, at any time feeling the threat, but it gave me vibes of the dude who did National Treasure. What's his name? Nicolas Cage. It gave me that sort of vibe. Like the guy was a little bit off base. You didn't know what he'd do next. I'm not saying his performance is...
Fisher Stevens is one of the best things in this film. He's one of the most entertaining parts of the film.
I'll be honest, yeah, he is. I mean, some of it not entirely positively good and not his choice, but yeah. What about, what's his name?
Matthew Lillard.
That's it.
He was all
his name's
right.
not on the back of the box. He's like one of the biggest names in it.
Yeah, the thing is, his character's not that big a deal in it.
He's the one who broadcasts in the
He
end.
kind of turns up to do some... Yeah, that's why that was quite funny, because he kind of, throughout the rest of the film, he's just the guy who turns up and
He's
cracks
just there,
jokes.
yeah.
And then at the end, he's like the most pivotal person in it.
Yeah, he's the only one left, isn't he,
Yeah.
by the end? He's the one who changes the world, but it's like, throughout the rest of it, you're right, he's just nobody. Oh, yeah, so there's this exchange. I don't know if this would go into worse lines, we'll see. But there was a quick exchange towards the end where Fisher Stevens trying to intimidate Johnny Lee Miller.
Yeah.
And Johnny, he's like, we can work together, so, what do you think? Johnny Lee Miller goes, blow me. And Fisher Stevens goes, thank you. And the thing is, It doesn't work. It doesn't work as a comeback.
I can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to turn it. Then again, you don't know. Fisher Stevens' character, Eugene, could be bisexual, and he could be like, "Oh, thank you, Johnny. Johnny Lee Miller's a fairly attractive man."
No,
he could be like, "Oh, thank you for giving me permission to suck your penis."
I thought it was meant to be like showing them that they're equal on the banter level, but neither of those lines are particularly clever, or banterous, or a good retort to the other.
Yeah, it's not a good comeback to blow me.
I beg your pardon. It's not a very good comeback to blow me.
But I'm pumped.
Anyway, Dade goes to bed and then imagines that Angelina Jolie is breaking in for sex. Both end up getting arrested.
I think many men have imagined that Angelina Jolie is breaking in for sex.
Lara Croft broke into my bedroom. Honest, Mom. She left her ectoplasm all over the cupboard.
Seriously, honey. She just broke in and just started going to town. Like, this wasn't me. Yeah. I would never cheat on you, honey. Seriously, not even with Angelina Jolie.
No, she assaulted me. But yeah, he then wakes up from
that. Not that we're laughing at
assault.
People being assaulted.
No, just because it's an obviously bullshit story.
Yeah, the idea that an average middle-aged man would get assaulted by Angelina Jolie. Oh god, what else happens in this terrible film?
Dade then goes to Angelina Jolie's house party, and the boys perv over some young dancer that's there. I'm going to put this into worse lines. It has to go into worse lines. Matthew Lillard says, "Look at that pooper. Spandex, man. It's a privilege, not a right."
Yeah, that's got to go in worse lines.
Look at that pooper, man. Spandex. It's a privilege, not a right.
Look at that pooper.
I didn't hear you say pooper.
Yeah, he says, "Look at that pooper."
Jesus
when he's talking about her bum.
Jeez.
I mean, like, I like ladies' bums, but I would not refer to them as poopers if I was trying to be
as a grown man,
as a compliment. Yeah, you got a nice pooper, babe. So now we've got the fact that women's bums are poopers, and their breasts have spillage.
Spandex is a privilege, not a right.
Which is great line. That's a great line, that bit.
Being that
you can't use that following "look at that pooper."
Being that I'm an ugly, overweight man, I'm going to get a spandex onesie, and I'm going to have that printed on the front. Spandex is a privilege, not a right.
You know what? I approve. If you get one, get me one as well. So the boys break into Angelina Jolie's room to admire her laptop.
Yes,
that's not a euphemism. No. It's literally a laptop.
I was about to say, this is where they're literally popping stiffies over a laptop, isn't it? And they're like, oh my god, it's got so much RAM.
What's great about it, if you are into tech specs, they go through the really hot tech specs of this laptop. Being a laptop from 1995, none of them are hot tech specs anymore.
It's the power of an Etch-a-Sketch these days.
It's hilarious. Angelina Jolie breaks into the room with her current boyfriend to have sex, not seeing the boys there. When they interrupt, she goes, "What are you doing?" "Oh, we're looking at your laptop." She then gets distracted.
No, let's not skip this important factor. If it weren't for Johnny Lee Miller, all the other characters aren't going to announce that they're there. They're just going to watch.
They were just going to watch, weren't they?
Just going to watch and perv. And Johnny Lee Miller's the idiot who ruins it by being like, excuse me.
"Hey, I know you're going to bang, but I like your laptop."
There's always one goody two-shoes.
Which is, ironically, the guy who crashed 1,507 Wall Street computers.
Yes. Well, I think, if anything, the modern age has taught us it's that Wall Street are the bad guys. So.
Oh, absolutely. She decides she's turned off from sex now because she wants to talk about her laptop with the boys. Don't look at that box. Yes, that's not my naming.
We've got to watch this.
Yes, we have. Sorry, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. It's one of our upcoming episodes. He's seen the box art. Look at the three images. That's from Super Mario Brothers 3. No, that one's from Super Mario Bros. 3, and that's from Super Mario World. But this is a box art, apparently, for the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. There's no images on there at all from the actual show that's advertised.
This is the thing that's... Robo Cooper is the title that's got me feeling like...
Don't you like the brothers on a bicycle on this one? It's terrible. Look, we've got to focus. We're getting told off. Dade breaks into Angelina Jolie's laptop. She catches him, and they flirt heavily over outdated tech specs. They challenge each other to a hacking challenge. If Angelina Jolie wins, Dade becomes her work slave, so he has to do all these dog's body jobs, and she's going to make his life hell. If Dade wins, she agrees that she has to go on a date, and... specifically, she has to smile and enjoy it. She can't just sort of turn up and be all moody.
Yeah, so not all rapey, is it?
Yeah, no.
Smile and enjoy it, bitch!
It's a little Legend of Zelda here. I'm going to force you to come on this date, and you will enjoy it, woman. They take turns hacking the FBI guy who's suing Joey. Oh, we missed a bit. Joey got arrested. Did we miss Joey's arrest on here? We were talking about this. The only character who's actually the actor who's the appropriate age is Joey. He's 16. All the others are in their 20s.
God, yeah, I forgot
And
this.
the only one we see bare ass of is Joey when he gets raided.
Yeah,
we see his
full
bare
on
ass.
Bare ass. Like, filmmakers. I love a bit of eye candy in a film, but I do not now, nor do I ever, and I can safely say that other than a certain group of people, nobody wants to see the bare naked ass of a 16-year-old boy.
Yeah, being
on
arrested
their
and
film.
handcuffed.
Like, to be fair, it's only for a split second.
But it's a weird thing
he's
to film.
16, it's weird.
There's
it's
also no
creepy.
reason they couldn't have put trousers or shorts on him.
Or even just a towel, because he's just got out the shower.
Oh, yeah,
hasn't he?
yeah.
He could just have the the towel doesn't have to come off. Just keep the towel on.
Let's be clear, you see less of the girls in Dead or Alive than you see of Joey in that moment.
Well, we'll get to that.
You see what you had for dinner.
Sweet corn.
You just drank while I said that. I'm surprised you kept it down.
It was a struggle, I'll admit.
Yeah. They max out his credit cards, they do all these sort of things to ruin his life, and eventually gets to the point where Dade has him officially registered as dead.
Dead.
It ends up as a tiebreaker. So whoever wins the tiebreaker must also add that they wear the dress on their date. Now, what's interesting is that whoever wins now, the other one has to wear a dress on their date. But Angelina Jolie's win wasn't to get the date. There was no date in hers, so is he just going to wear a dress when he does other stuff? It's as if now the date is guaranteed. It's just who now wears the
Because
dress.
hasn't he won this first round
No,
by
he hasn't.
having been declared
they,
dead?
No, they declare it as a tiebreaker.
Right.
Jolie then imagines Dade in a sexy... having sexy times.
Yeah.
It looks like it's her groin, but it then
So-
ends up being Johnny Lee Miller's groin in a vinyl suit.
This is quite a good scene because it does a nice double trick of the audience.
Yeah.
Because you assume it's him fantasizing again. And like you said, it looks like it's her hips in the vinyl suit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she wakes up and you realise actually she's now fantasising about him.
Yeah.
Also, every single dude in the audience who was just like, oh yeah, Angelina, suddenly just shriveled up and went, oh no, oh god, I'm so confused. What does this mean?
Yeah, you're like, oh god, that's hot, that's super hot, and then it's like, and it's got a penis in it. No, oh.
Oh, how fragile does your masculinity have to be?
Yeah, it's quite funny. Can you imagine it if you were the sort of dude who would be cracking off during a film and then finding that out? Finding that out, you watched this for the Jolie, and you got.
No one should be cracking off during Hackers, especially not a film with a.
Why would that not make it crackers?
Here's what's in this film. Let me explain to you what's in this film. The bare naked ass of a 16-year-old boy.
Yep.
I believe we see Matthew Lillard's nipple at one point.
Oh, absolutely.
He pulls his shirt to the side and starts fingering himself.
Yes, he
a
does.
close-up of Johnny Lee Miller's hip bones in this vinyl.
In a vinyl bikini sort of style vinyl suit at the bottom, isn't it?
This is definitely not something that unless you're into
This
dudes,
isn't your granddad's hacking film.
unless you're into dudes. Well, no, your granddad's hacking film is in bloody tapping into the old coal mine or whatever.
Is that a euphemism?
No, I mean it literally because there's no computers.
No, I know, I'm joking.
No, this is not a film that you should be cracking off to, as Rory,
No.
as my esteemed co-presenter put it. Cracking
So good
off.
with words. Joey is released from prison, and he takes the disc out of his hidey hole. That sounds bad after we talked about his naked bum, doesn't it? He takes the disc out of the air duct, and he gives it to one of the other hackers. I can never remember this guy's name. The black dude who always wears like the tiger print clothes. But he's only in like a few scenes. He's kind of one of the mains, but never really named, never really given much to do. He's just sort of there, a bit like Matthew Lillard, but Matthew Lillard has become a more famous actor since, so he's kind of more memorable in that regard. He gives it to this other hacker who realises they're being tailed by the FBI. So they split. The hacker who's got the disc goes into a men's toilet and uses gum to stick it behind a condom machine. The Secret Service raid this hacker at his home the next morning, and he uses his jail call, hacks the phone in order to contact Angelina Jolie and tell her where to get the disc. So she and Matthew Lillard take the disc to Dade and ask for help. There's like an awkward moment that I don't really want to focus on because it's just a bit weird. Like, it works for the film, but it's not particularly interesting, really, when she's in the men's toilets trying to get the because they send her in, not Matthew Lillard for some reason, to get the disc from behind the condom machine. And there's all these guys in the men's toilets looking at like, oh.
To be fair, I'll tell you something we didn't talk about, and far be it for me to criticise anyone, but if anyone listens to this podcast, I think they've realised that my character is that I'm a bitch. And I fully admit that I look like a bridge troll, but my God, Angelina Jolie's haircut in this film is fucking atrocious.
So the haircut I don't think suits her.
It doesn't suit her face shape.
No, absolutely not. It's
I
a
don't know,
pixie cut. If anyone wants to know what it is, it's a pixie cut. It was quite popular in the mid to late 90s.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have been. It should have died a death.
I would say yes, because I agree with you, but actually my dad likes that haircut on women, so...
That's a gross thing to know, Rory.
I don't want to take away something from my dad.
Yeah, but it's a gross thing that you know that.
Why is that weird?
Because it's like you and your dad talk and share things and have an actual relationship with each other.
Oh my God, I have like a healthy relationship with my parents,
yeah,
where
exactly.
they're my friends.
It's sickening. Should be like my parents, where it's like kids are seen and not heard, stay in your room, never talk to us.
Yeah, that sounds great.
It is. I turned out fine.
Did you? You just called yourself a bridge troll.
Hey, I have the wherewithal to see the truth. I ain't in any denial.
Yeah, because your dad battered it into you while you were younger. What a loving relationship that was. God, this wasn't supposed to be a counselling session, but... There's a quote here from Lillard. I don't think it's as bad as his look at that pooper, but he says, a wake-up call from the Nintendo generation, which is cheesy. I don't think it's nowhere near as bad as look at that pooper, though.
Has anyone ever referred to it as the Nintendo generation before?
So in America, I think they would have done. So, like, if you think about, in America, Nintendo owned 90% of the gaming market during the NES era. When the SNES era came out, they had a huge challenge from Sega, but that died a death, really, in the Saturn era, where the PlayStation instead took over and actually dominated Nintendo with the PlayStation brand. But it still took a long time because people... I don't know what it is in America, but they like to be able to reference games eras or like just gaming in general by using a single company name. So throughout the whole 80s, it's like, I'm going to go play Nintendo. Yeah. And that stuck. Even throughout the 90s, people go, I'm going to go play Nintendo, even when PlayStation had already overtaken it. But when they refer to the Mega Drive, even though they called it the Genesis, they don't even call it that. They go, the Sega.
Yeah.
And so, what is it? The Sega what? There's loads of Sega machines. And then, after a while, certainly by the early 2000s, people weren't really saying, I'm going to go play Nintendo anymore. They were saying, I'm going to go play PlayStation. And then it's only really in sort of the late 2000s, early 2010s era where saying, I'm going to go play the Enter Company brand here, stopped Xbox really being a thing. It started being about naming specific... Well, normally you just say, I'm going to go play some video games. Yeah. That became acceptable enough to say. But yeah, otherwise it's like, I'm going to play Nintendo, I'm going to go play Sega, I'm going to go play PlayStation. So, really?
Computer games.
Gaming. So Plague has set Dade's mum up on the system as a criminal on the run. So the FBI and the police are after her. He'll swap Dade's mum's freedom, like to restore it back to her being an innocent, for the disc, because he knows that Dade has the disc. So Dade waits on the street to hand the disc to Plague. Now you might remember this bit. This is the bit in the middle of the night.
Yes.
So so Dade is standing on a street corner. In the night, it's New York, so we've got that. You researched this last time, so actually,
the steam
about the steam. Explain why there's steam in New York.
So this is something that I've noticed in tons of films. And it only just occurred to me when we were watching this.
And it's only really in New York, specifically in America. Yeah. And you've never seen steam like it anywhere else.
No. And it finally occurred to me while we were watching this awful film to look up the reason why. And apparently, a lot of the older buildings in downtown New York don't have their own inbuilt boilers or central heating like we do here in Britain. They have these big steam plants that pipe steam into the buildings. Yeah. And those pipes run underneath the street level, and where the cold air meets the hot pipes, it creates steam. So they built these vents into the sidewalk, as they call it in America.
Sidewalk.
The sidewalk. We call it pavement here in Britain.
Because we have words. Because
we also trust our citizens to be able to cross the road without making it a crime.
Is the pavement in the middle of the street?
You know about jaywalking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what a stupid crime. Anyway,
Carry on.
Here, I'm sorry, I don't mean to slag off the Americans, but seriously, it's a crime.
Slagged off everyone else.
Right, you can't trust people to cross the road, but you trust people enough to sell shotguns in Walmart.
Yes.
Those two things add up, don't they?
Let's move on from that, because let's be honest, every single country has laws that are nonsensical.
Oh yeah, this country's a fucking dive, but
Yeah.
yes. So yeah, that's it basically.
Yeah.
That's why there's steam.
So this street has very much that classic New York look, where you've got, like, it's the middle of the night and there's just, for some reason, masses of steam gushing out from underneath the sewer pipes and everything else, just emanating from the sidewalk, which is a great look. I've always wondered why, and I'm glad you researched it, because it's like things like the original titles for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TV series. I know the series itself wasn't particularly gritty, but the intro was, and it had all of that stuff. It's all brilliant.
Oh yeah, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Well, you went with the British one. Dave's standing on the street corner, and then through the mist comes a limo. But the plague is not in the limo. No. The plague is hanging onto the side of a limo.
On roller skates.
No, on a skateboard. On a skateboard, just squatting down, right, on this skateboard. As he gets closer, he releases the limo to go past Dade, grab the disc, and then as he comes off the other side, he goes back to the limo, grabs the side, but the limo has to stop to let him in. It's like, why didn't you just stop the limo, reach your hand out of the window, and then drive off?
Yeah.
Like, there was no reason to come out on the skateboard. Like, no, honestly, driver, stop the car, I'll get the skateboard, and then...
Because when he approaches on the skateboard...
It's slow.
Really slow anyway. Like, it's not like he just zips past and snatches it out of Johnny Lee Miller's hand.
It's at, like, 2 miles an hour, you could walk faster, and you're like, what are you doing?
Johnny Lee Miller literally, like, sees him coming for a good, like, 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then holds the disc out for it to take, and you're like, mate,
the world's slowest snatch I've ever seen. That sounds worse than a minute. That's So Dade and the gang break into the real disc code. So Dade's actually giving them a fake disc. They break into the code and they're looking at what's called hex code. I recognised it on the screen. Now, here's a fact for you. You can't necessarily read code in hex unless it's been designed for hex. So hex code is a coding type. I'm sure I know there's people out there with way more knowledge than me. I'm at best very basic on any knowledge of code, but hex will sometimes tell you. So it'll bring up all this code that's just numbers and then it's got this translation window which will tell you what the English means for what all of these things do, what the names of the files are, all the copyright information, all of this sort of stuff. But that translation is literally built into the hex code for the coders to read. It makes no sense that the secret information that they're trying to find would be written in hex code, because hex code can be read by literally anyone with a hex editor, which are free to download. So you don't even need to translate it. The hex editor does that for you. So if you've done your whole maniacal plan in hex code, I'm not 100% certain you can really call yourself a hacker. Because literally any old bugger with a hex editor can just download, what's it say? Oh, well, the translation says, I have set up DaVinci to crash the company. So it's just a really weird...
Is the hacker Steve Coogan?
It could be. It's hotter than the sun. Dade reveals that he used to be Zero Cool.
The name of the famous character Steve Coogan plays on the tip of my tongue. Alan
Partridge, yeah. So Dade reveals to the group that he used to be Zero Cool. Now, if you don't remember who Zero Cool was, he was the guy who hacked 1,507 computers in Wall Street. Don't forget, because they keep telling us, so we're gonna fucking tell you.
He thinks he's Zero Cool. I love this irony, because he obviously thinks that's a cool name, like Zero Cool.
Well, the film tries to make out that it's a cool name as well.
But
so
you're
the film
like,
is
no,
that blind.
If you've got Zero Cool, that means you're a fucking nerd.
They all agree to work together to hack the company before the 5 minutes it would take for the company to find them. The team social hack the company. You know what I mean by social hacking? I'll explain it anyway.
Work together?
No. So social hacking is how most hacking is done, where you call someone up and you trick them verbally into giving you passcodes and things like that, and information you need to actually do the hack. Social hacking is the most common form of hacking.
They do it a lot in Veronica Mars.
Yes.
Which is a fantastic show that everyone should watch.
So, like, for example, in this, Matthew Lillard is under someone's desk, and he's obviously hacking into their phone system. Someone else is doing something else in the building. They're basically cracking into their router and their wired network, because they didn't have a wireless network at the time. Here's another quote. "There is no good and evil. There's only fun and boring." That's actually a good quote, though, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's a variation on a line that's been done a billion. How many villains have you heard say the line, "There is no good and evil, there is only ambition, there is no good and evil, there is only power, and
there is only Zool.
There is only Zool." No, is it no Dana, only Zool?
That's
or something?
it, yeah.
I think that's Harry Potter where he...
No, that's Ghostbusters.
No, I think it's Harry Potter where he says...
Oh, sorry, another quote.
Where he says... "There is no good and evil, only power and those with the will to seek it."
Right.
I think that's Harry Potter.
I'll be honest, that sounds shit compared to fun and boring. I actually will take the plague over Harry Potter. And I mean a real plague.
Don't say that when we're in an actual plague.
Well, I got my wish, and we still didn't lose Harry Potter, for fuck's sake.
They lost J.K. Rowling.
Whoa! We're not allowed to talk politics. Shut up.
Well, I'm just saying.
We got told off.
I'm merely we got told off by one person.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm merely stating a fact, which is they cut J.K. Rowling out of the big reunion episode.
No, she was invited. She refused.
Did she?
Yeah. So anyway, that's a political thing because it's all to do with.
We're not saying why.
Opinion.
We're not saying why.
No, but
we're just saying.
If we go into that, we're still on the verge. I think of. We're definitely coming off script, but we're also going into a political thing. The team listening on the FBI guy who's calling for their arrest. They record that, and because they've intercepted it, that call doesn't then go through. They delegate on the tube, so they're I can't remember what it's called in America, like the underground.
Subway. See, over here, that's just a place where you get nice sandwiches.
Yeah, sandwich. And in America, it's both a house of paedophiles and for trains.
Jared, the Subway guy.
Yeah. Who
lost tons of... Whoa, Michael. Sorry. I was reading a text from my writers group that I didn't go to last night. The guy who supposedly lost tons of weight eating nothing but Subway turned out to be a paedophile.
Yes. That's why you don't see him anymore.
He's nowhere safe.
No.
Everyone's a fucking paedophile these days.
There's actually a recent comment from him. Like, he's been in prison for years.
Oh,
and
how am I only just hearing about this?
Yeah. From prison, he's made his comment recently, apparently, according to news, saying that, he doesn't like the fact that it's really bad in prison. It's just like, I miss things like having carpet and things like that. It's really bad. It's like, then don't rape children.
I'm going to say we're a paedophile.
I'll be honest, it was a really easy way to keep all of those things, was just to not do the thing you did.
Yeah, just don't do that one thing.
It's not as if there's any confusion. It's not anyone's like, oh, I didn't realise. It's like... It's fucking obvious. Just don't do that bit. Anyway.
Go on, let's drag ourselves back to this.
It's alright, we're nearly done. So they realise the Da Vinci virus is an inside job, as the garbage file documents an oil leak in the future. They realise that the oil leak news is due to come out on the same day and at the same time as the Da Vinci virus resolves itself. So clearly they're interlinked. They go to a club to find the Japanese hackers from earlier in the film, having to have a direct conversation with them. Dade and Jodie reveal the plot to the Japanese hackers, who suggest doing an online call from hackers online to help them. So essentially their idea... I don't know if this actually works in real-life hacking, because I don't know much about hacking. I don't know anything about hacking, really. But the idea is that Dade himself could get the hack done within, 8 minutes or something like that. But they've only got 5 minutes to actually get the hack done before they're all arrested. So Angelina Jolie helping will get that down to 6 minutes. And Matthew Lillard helping them out will get it down to 5 minutes. And then in order to help get that 5-minute time down, they basically put a public call out on some hacking community online. The idea apparently is that the more people hacking at one time will reduce the time it takes to hack. But I don't know if that works, because everyone would surely be also overdoing everyone else's work.
I think so. You don't see this in the film, but I think they split the work up more so people are focusing on specific parts of the code.
Yeah. That's the only way it would work, really.
I suppose it's a little bit like when you... Not that anyone here does this... But when you torrent something, and the way torrenting works is you have seeders, and it takes a little piece from each person.
No, that actually might make sense there. Fair enough.
Again, not that anyone on this podcast has ever torrented. We don't even know what torrenting is.
I've never met torrents.
What is that?
Who is Mr. Torrance?
I like some black torrents. Black currants.
Oh, okay.
Get it?
I wondered where you were going with that. That scared me. Don't do that again.
Yeah. I just want some Ribena. That's what I want.
Okay, well, we'll find you some Ribena in a minute. You sit there, you big good boy. Get you some Ribena.
What a juice box.
Get a Capri Sun.
Oh, I love Capri Sun.
It's so much sugar that you'll be buzzing for
You know,
days.
in America they pronounce it Capri Sun.
Okay.
And that bugs me.
Well, I suppose they're capri pants. They call the shorts, don't they?
Do we call them Capri pants?
No. So maybe it is
Maybe they're right.
maybe it is Capri Sun. So the crew roller skate to their final tasks. It was obviously about 5 years before, but it just reminded me of Jet Set Radio. You got these punks dressed all in multicoloured Larry shit, skating to, you know, screw the cops and screw everyone over. I'm like, this is proper Jet Set Radio vibes. In fact, you could probably take that and put some of Hideki Naganuma's music over it, and it would just be sweet. Hideki Naganuma is the guy who did most music for Jet Set Radio.
I figured from context.
And if you don't know Hideki Naganuma's work, go and look it up because it is the sweetest music. So Dade puts on a 90s form of Google Glass. Do you remember when he's at these phone booth? He puts on these glasses and it's got like over one eye, it's got what looks like a small screen.
It looks like the Scouter from the Saiyans in Dragon Ball Z. Because I remember when he put it on, I went, over 9,000!
The four of them use public payphones to hack the company, and the bad guys are obviously trying to stop the hack. Oh, and I put here, it's ridiculously bad how the villains talk in almost military terms. So while the Plague and all of the other, while they're in the server room trying to stop the hack going on, if anyone's watched Star Trek, when things happen, they'll try and talk in military terms. If it's like, open phasers, Lieutenant, do this. Captain, understood. You know, it'll be short and clipped, right? And they do that with this. It's like, rabbit virus, need a flu shot. Talk to me. It doesn't mean anything. Rabbit virus, need a flu shot. For the rabbit virus, I assume. At what point, like, no, you need an antivirus. I've never had a virus on my computer. I have never had a virus on my computer. But if I had done, I wouldn't be like, has anyone got a flu shot that I can have for my computer?
Lucky you, never having a computer virus.
I'm smart.
I know it's slightly
because I don't drink BlackTorrent. So there's a cool visual here. It makes no sense, but it is a cool visual. So it's obvious what they wanted to do was have the cast who are in the phone booths have the camera spin around them. Now what they've done is a really awesome visual. I have to say, I have to give it an applaud for being a brilliant visual. Obviously, logistically or logically, it makes zero sense. Instead of rotating the camera around the phone booth, they've got like the camera fixed and they're spinning the phone booth around with someone in it.
Put it on a turntable, haven't they?
Yeah.
It looks kind of goofy. I appreciate what they were trying to do, but it doesn't work somehow.
There's another quality line here. One of them's like, the system has a cancer, because they always for some reason use real human viruses as names for the viruses in the film.
Oh no, my computer has AIDS. Oh.
Yeah, and someone's like, cancer, brain cancer.
We have massive infection, multiple GPI and FSI viruses.
They're coming in from remote nodes. They're going for the kernel.
Colonel who?
The system command processor. It's the brain.
Cancer, brain cancer.
I'm like, no. No, don't do that.
My computer has COVID-19.
Yeah, exactly. It's bullshit.
It didn't wear its mask.
So the Plague defeats everyone in the hack, except Joey, the 16-year-old bum boy.
Jesus Christ.
You're
going to jail.
I'm not the one who filmed a boy's bumhole.
You're the one who keeps saying it, though.
Bumhole? I'm just saying it because it makes you cringe.
Oh.
Buttocks. So here's their last chance to actually defeat the Plague. They download the firewall, then kill the Gibson computer. Now, I'm going to give you something here. The Gibson computer is named for William Gibson, the guy who wrote
author.
Yeah, the cyberpunk author. Actually termed the term cyberpunk, I think, as well. But things like Johnny Mnemonic and stuff like that are all William Gibson.
Some episodes of the X-Files.
Yes, yeah, he's done an awful lot of stuff. Yeah, very good writer, a brilliant writer, a famous writer. Now, that prevents the ship capsizing. They're then arrested, except for Matthew Lillard, who had to go out and get something. I think he was, like, because he got hacked out early, he had to go and, I think he went and became the Watch or something.
Yeah.
But he went out for something, so when they get arrested, Lillard isn't there. And as Dade and all the rest are moving out, Dade throws the disc into the bin, and as he's marched out by the police under arrest, he shouts at Matthew Lillard about how this is garbage, this is all trash, it's all rubbish, it's trash, rah rah, like obviously overemphasizing trash to give him the impression, you know, go and look in the trash, which he does and finds the disc. I can't remember who says this line, but I really like this line.
I suggest you modify your attitude, because you are floating, and I'm about to flush your ass.
Hollywood loves to write black characters talking
Yeah,
like that.
even though he's a professional police officer, it'd be like, no, we're going to give him some homie line in there somewhere.
He's still going to talk like he's from the hood.
We're right at the end game. Lillard hacks the TV stations with the Japanese guys and reveals the truth live across many TV stations. He
Takes a
outs
long
the...
time to get to his point.
Yeah, he did, yeah. He outs the Plague and his female accomplice. The Plague puts on a bad old man disguise and goes on an airplane where he's then arrested. But, like, the goatee and everything he's put on, like the white hair and the white goatee, really dodgy. Yeah. So it's like, did you really think you're going to pass? Like, why don't you just shave your goatee and your hair?
Yeah.
Like, go bald completely if you're going to do something like that. Dade and Jodie finally go on their date, wind up in a swimming pool. They kiss underwater as the credits roll.
Yeah, whoa, let's not forget, though. Poor Johnny Lee Miller, I don't know if it's a costume he's wearing or what. There's quite a long scene where they're watching their friends hack the building to light
I forgot
up.
about that bit.
And they're, like, floating in this pool, treading water. Look at it. And Angelina Jolie's doing fine, like it's effortless. Johnny Lee Miller looks like he is fighting for his life. His head keeps dipping below the surface.
Yeah,
and
he's
you're like...
proper not doing well.
It's like, Johnny Lee Miller, can you not swim? Like, it's fine. I can't fucking swim.
No. But
I mean, in theory, I can swim.
You think someone would give him a lesson?
Yeah, or put something under the water for him to stand on or something.
So he doesn't look like he's about to die.
He literally looks like he's struggling for his life.
But yeah, so the whole end credits it has them in the background kissing underwater. And I'm like, I don't know how long you can hold your breath, but I can't hold mine for very long. I know Tom Cruise can hold his for about 5 minutes because he did it, but he practiced to do it for a scene in one of the Mission Impossible films, all in one take. But that's Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise.
And he has the power of Xenu on his side.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's a man nobody should mess with in that regard. But my question is, wouldn't they drown? They're not shown to be particularly exceptional at holding their breath, so all of a sudden they're snogging underwater for about 10 minutes. You're like... you're not dying.
It is worth noting that Angelina Jolie and Johnny Lee Miller did start dating in actual real life after this film.
Yes, they did.
Didn't they get briefly married for a little bit as well?
I don't know that. It's possible. I know it ended only a couple of years later. It wasn't a very long relationship.
No.
We've got a couple of things to do and then we'll go. We've got to work out worse lines.
Oh, it's got to be pooper.
Yeah, so I think we're going to go with the pooper line. Yeah, look at that pooper, spandex man. It's a privilege, not a right. So that's our worst line for this film. Jamie, would you recommend Hackers to anyone?
Oh, I'm sure there is an audience for it. I just can't think what that audience is besides Rory. So if you are a Rory clone, you'll enjoy this film. I don't know why it didn't appeal to me. Like, it's not a badly made film. The worst factor of it is purely its age, which it can't help. The fact that it came out in an age when, like, we're talking very early internet years here, and I think it grossly misjudged what the internet was going to become. But then again, lots of films about computers did back then.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a film I'll ever want to watch again.
Oh, that's a shame.
But it's not the worst film we've ever watched on here.
I thought Matthew Lillard would draw you in because you liked him in Scream.
Yeah, he's great in Scream, and
he's basically the same in this.
We have an episode we're going to recommend where I'm going to fix the film by putting Matthew Lillard in it. Yeah. No, I don't think I'd really recommend this to anyone, which is going to get... I realise I'm going to get some hate on this podcast, because we've got a film coming up that I am going to recommend, and people are going to be like, if you didn't recommend this one, it means you're a scumbag, but yeah.
Okay, no, fair enough. Would I recommend Hackers? You know what's annoying? I want to. Mm-hmm. And you're right, it's not a badly made film, it's actually very well made.
Yeah. This feels like a real film.
Yeah.
It feels like an actual filmmaker made this.
Yes, it has a defined beginning, middle, and an end. It's cheesy. I would love to recommend it because I do enjoy it. As you say, if you're a Rory, then I suppose you can recommend it. But the thing is because it's so out of date, the only people I think that would get anything out of it now would be people who either remember the era or are looking back at the era to see what was so different.
Yeah. We could play a cruel trick on, like, Gen Z.
Yeah.
Show it to them and be like, this is 100% factually accurate.
Yeah, this is how we all were in the 90s.
Yeah, this was the 90s.
I remember when I went rollerblading and hacked big companies and screwed over the FBI. Didn't you? Oh, you don't do that now? I thought that's what we all just did.
I had a friend who used to just expose his nipple and lick it for fun.
You see, the thing is, though, that's actually believable.
What, 'cause the kind of people
So long
I
as it
hang out
wasn't your
with.
dad's.
Oh, no.
Do you like cool, man?
No, stop it. Oh, God, I think my soul just died.
Yeah. I don't think I can recommend it. It's not because it's a bad film, far from it. Most of the films that I don't recommend are genuinely bad for some reason or another. Hackers isn't genuinely bad. It's genuinely good. The problem is I don't know what audience there is now. At the time, it would have been the youth. It would have been very obvious. It would have had, like, I was certainly in the 1995, I would have recommended this. Because it was like, this is what the future could be. It's a good bit of fun. It's really well made. Brilliant film. But in 2022, what are you learning from Hackers? What are you getting from Hackers other than nostalgia? Maybe that's it.
I don't think I got any nostalgia from it. That's certainly not the 90s I remember.
Oh, you don't remember the 90s. What about Friends?
I remember Friends. To be fair,
There's no Hackers in Friends.
To be fair, when Hackers came out, I would have only been 4 years old, so I probably didn't have the most fully formed memories at that point.
Yeah. I want to recommend it. I can't recommend it because I don't think there's an audience anymore. But the pooper line is the worst line, and you're the worst line.
And remember that spandex is a privilege, not a right.
Game over, yeah!
Cyberpunk